Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 329 on a busy day and after an absolutely insane. For my money, last night was kind of the perfect night of playoff basketball because we had one all-time game with an all-time comeback and one game that was over at halftime, so I finally could get some sleep. Sweet Jesus, man, I have been a zombie the last month. These games every single night, they're all good. It feels like no lead is safe, but the Oklahoma City lead over Denver, I was like, that one feels safe. So I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't watch the second half of that game. I've been locked into everything. That one, went to bed early, felt good about it. Damonza, welcome in. I applaud that you have not taken the Celtics jersey down. They maybe, by the way, might ask you to put it on and see if you can give them a good 6 minutes off the bench because you'll at least go to the basket. And
might be necessary.
That would
might
be good.
Necessary.
Also, while the West Coast is a good place in theory to be a sports fan, nights like last night kind of a bummer because by 7 p.m. your just evening's ruined. Like you could have a whole nice night in front of you, but 4:15 start. 7 o'clock finish, and it's like, okay, well, that sucked. So we'll get to all of that. We're going to spend a lot of time on Knicks Celtics and then the other things. But first, what missed the cut? Sue Bird has become the USA Basketball Managing Director for the women's national team. Rob Pelinka got one vote for Executive of the Year. By the way, I got no problem with that. Answering the phone is answering the phone. And NBA Draft Lottery is Monday. The producers want me to tell you who I want to win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. Honestly, I want Miami to win it. I feel like Jimmy Butler did them dirty, and I would like to see the Miami. Oh, wait. I'm an idiot. I'm a total idiot. The Miami Heat can't win it. They could have at the end of the regular season, but since they made the playoffs, they actually can't win it. So of the teams that can actually win it, I know I had said, I guess my answer, because Miami beat Atlanta to get
Put him over there with Poole. Get him over there with Jordan Poole, man.
No, I don't want him to be with these silly teams.
Okay.
I certainly don't want Dallas to win it. I don't know, Portland? Portland could be fun. They're trying to... I don't want the Spurs to win. It doesn't seem fair. The most fun one is Philly. Philly just gets a total Paul George get out of jail free card if they win it. But, okay, let's get to the actual news of the day, Damonza, which is the fact that your team stinks.
Yeah, so yesterday, game 2, pretty much a carbon copy of game 1. The Knicks pull off another 20-point comeback and the Celtics lose. That's I don't know what to say here. We still relying on the 3. Seems like we didn't get the memo.
You took 20 less.
It took 20 less, but still we're taking 3s in spots where it's just like go and get a bucket, increase.
You didn't love the Jayson Tatum up 7.
When Jalen Brunson was falling on the ground in the paint. Josh Hart, 15 feet away. How do you feel about the series, or do you want me to go in, chime in?
No, we can. I mean, I'll go, and then we can go back and forth. The Knicks can win. And the Knicks deserve to be the story. But they are not the story. The Knicks deserve to have us talking about how they have gone to Boston. They have been down 20 points in the second half in both of these games. They have not played great, honestly, in either game. Yesterday, Mikal Bridges is terrible for the first 3 quarters before being awesome. Jalen Brunson is 6 of 19 in the game. With a few minutes left in the game, he had made 4 shots. And it's not like he had made 4 shots and gotten to the free throw line once. And they found a way to win, and they deserve credit for that. But the story, and I promise, we'll spend a lot of time on the Knicks. But the story is Boston. The Knicks story is about what I said on Tuesday. planning for this moment for more than a year. And there being a lot of similarities to how Minnesota was able to beat Denver to what we are seeing with the Knicks and the Celtics. Let's table those, and we will get to those shortly. Because the story really is the defending champs falling apart in real time, physically and mentally. And now let me make this clear. I don't think it's over. I don't think like, oh, no chance the Celtics come back. The Celtics are talented enough and good enough, obviously, to win 4 out of 5 against New York. In fact, most people thought they were going to win 4 out of 5 against New York. They just thought it was going to be the first 5 games. That this was going to be a nice, friendly, gentleman's sweep. But we are now here. Everyone's going to focus on the 3-point variance. And I get it. 25 of 100 from 3. 15 of 60 in game 1. The exact same percentage in game 2, except they were 10 of 40. I actually don't think that might be the biggest reason they're down. I don't think that is the biggest story surrounding them being down. The biggest story surrounding them being down is Jayson Tatum. And we gave him all his flowers and all the credit for what was, without a doubt, at least to my eye, the best regular season of his career. I understand it wasn't the best numbers. He's averaged almost exactly this many points. He's averaged 26.8 or 26.9 points 3 of the last 4 years. His numbers in the 1 year he didn't, he averaged 30. His numbers have been consistent. His field goal percentage has been consistent. And it wasn't that he played more games. It was just this felt like the best Tatum year because you didn't get a great year from Jaylen Brown by his standards. Horford's a year older. You saw some real deterioration from Drew Holiday over the course of the year. And yet Tatum answered the bell on both ends of the court every night. And this is the key piece, not the key, but one of the key pieces of it, responded from what was a really weird few months for him, where he finally wins a championship, but he's not the conference finals MVP. He's not the finals MVP. He actually plays some of his worst basketball of the season last year in the biggest games, most notably those two the conference finals and NBA finals. Still, it's not like he was bad, but he just dropped a level. That then was compounded by the fact that Steve Kerr, who obviously is, despite what lunatic Warrior fans would try to tell you, Steve Kerr, who obviously is one of the best and smartest basketball minds we have, Steve Kerr saw Jayson Tatum in the Olympics and said, can't use you. Sorry, would love to, but actually, you're not one of our 8 best. And he responded to all of that with a year where he had an argument. He was the 3rd best player in the league. And where there was no argument whatsoever, he was one of the 4 best players in the league. And for that to then, and then let me add another piece to it. After a kind of rocky game 1 of the playoffs, but who cared? They won. It was easy. Where he got hurt, he then came back after missing a game, averaging 36, 11, and 6 the rest of the series. It's like, holy shit. Jayson, this extra level that Bill Simmons has been swearing on his children exists for years. For Jayson Tatum, we're seeing it. And then in back-to-back games, he is 12 of 42 from the field. He is 5 of 20 from 3. He is a total and complete non-factor in the fourth quarter of these games. The only play he made last night was when the Knicks screwed up a switch and he got a wide open dunk. And now, listen, I'll just tell you what I said to Kevin Wildes when I FaceTimed him yesterday. And I know this is going to sound unfair, but it's just how I feel. And it's not prisoner of the moment because I have felt this way about Tatum forever. He's an excellent player. But what I said to Wildes is, I don't care if the Celtics win the next 3 championships. He's never going to be the best player in the league. That guy is not the best player in the league. And I don't even think the reason I said that to Wildes is because he keeps trying to force the conversation of Jayson Tatum's going to force us into some really tricky conversations. What do we do with the 27-year-old with 2 rings and 4 first-team All-NBAs and all of this? What does that mean for where he is historically? And my answer to that is Tatum is an excellent player. He is not yet in the we need to evaluate his historical greatness level. And I don't know that he is going to be in that conversation. There is, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something that's just not there.
Yeah, I think he gets a little tight in big spots is what it seems like to me, watching the games.
It feels to me like if his 3 isn't falling, it knocks him off the rest of his game. And here is the Celtics piece, and I just did LeBatard's show, and this is the point I was trying to make. The Celtics' bomb 3 strategy over the long haul, obviously, is just a smart mathematical strategy. As sample sizes get smaller, you put yourself more at, the mercy of the variance. It's, the team that really originated this strategy was Daryl Morey's Rockets. But here's why for Daryl Morey's Rockets, it made total sense. The team they were trying to beat, the KD Steph Warriors, was flatly better than them. So they needed to shake up the snow globe and add some damn variance. Because if we just go to the middle of the ring and trade jabs, we got no shot. So instead, we're going to throw some wild haymakers and risk getting knocked out because that's our chance. This strategy for the Celtics maybe would make sense if this were the NBA Finals against Oklahoma City and they feel like they're better than us. All year long they've been better. They have the better resume. Their best player is better than our best player. They're better than us. So let's add some uncertainty to it. Up 20 points in the second half against the New York Knicks. The last thing you want is to add uncertainty. It's an insane way to, it's not an insane way to play. It's insane, Damonza, not to adjust.
Yeah.
And not to have, it's a team, it's a football team that their identity is chucking it deep and up 10 in the fourth quarter, they refuse to run the ball. And here's the other piece of it. You've got Jayson Tatum. He's 6'8". He's in amazing shape. He can get to the hoop. And it is stubbornness that at this point might cost them their title defense. To lose both, and it's the first 20-point lead. I said it Tuesday. The Knicks made that a game faster than any team I can remember. It was 20 points, Boston up by 20 with 5.5 left in the third, and it was a 6-point game with a minute left in the third. So the Knicks just, in a span of 10 possessions, made it a game again. Yesterday was different in that, yes, it was 20, and then the Knicks chipped away. But it was... Go ahead.
We were holding it. We stayed out in front for a minute, and we just kept shooting the three, and they just kept chipping it away.
It was 14 with 7 minutes left. And so if you look at the Celtics' fourth quarter shot chart, they didn't just shoot threes. It wasn't the third quarter in game 3. But there were just these moments. Most notably was the one Wilds took the picture of. But it's a jarring image where it is 86-77. Is that, I want to make sure I have it. I think it's, let me try to pull up, I should just pull up Wilds' tweet. Because it's a wild decision it's 86-79, pardon me. And I don't know why this isn't showing me that, but regardless, don't worry about it. Oh, here's why. Because it wasn't, I was like, I thought it was 86, because the score, remember, and here's a sneaky important part of the game that will be forgotten in history. The Knicks got an extra point during a timeout because they had called a Jalen Brunson 3, a 2, and then they fixed it. Oh, Mikal Bridges, pardon me. And so the scoreboard says 86-79, but it was actually 86-80. And Derek White misses a 3. Mikal Bridges then goes down, misses a 3. And Josh Hart tries to save it and starts the fast break. And all of a sudden, and we can put the image up, Jayson Tatum finds himself in this position. I don't think, Damonza, I like that. I don't think I like shooting that 3 if I'm the team trailing by 7. Like, I don't think it's the smarter move.
You got a dunk right there. Because Brunson, he's not recovering. Like, he's probably going to try to get out the way. Of course he's not recovering.
Yeah, and by the way,
hands and knees.
And here's the other thing. If Jalen Brunson is upright, you might have a dunk there.
Oh, yeah.
You're 7 inches taller than him. Horford's there. You have a full head of steam. That is an impossible decision. Now you can be like, listen, what does Jayson Tatum shoot on corner threes, blah, blah, blah. Again, you're actually up 6, but you think you're up 7. It's bananas. And the very next possession, we don't have a picture of it, but Jaylen Brown has an alley to the basket. And he takes a pull-up 3.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, it is...
The Knicks just flatly want it more, is what it seems like.
Well, they are certainly more comfortable, Damonza, if it's close late.
Yeah.
That is undeniable. And the fact that the Knicks have now won 5 road playoff games, and they have won them. They have played 5 road playoff games. They are 5-0. And they have won those 5 games by a combined, this is really unbelievable.
6 points.
They have won those 5 games by a combined 10 points.
10.
1 in overtime. They won game 3 against Detroit by 2. Game 4 against Detroit by 1. Game 6 against Detroit by 3. Game 1 against Boston by 3. And in overtime. And game 2 against Boston by 1. It is a remarkable turn of events.
Got a lot of heart. No pun intended.
So this is I don't even think that my buddy knows I'm doing the pod right now. But my buddy Andy just texted me. If you're curious the odds of a team that shot let me read this exact text real quick. Sorry. If you're curious the odds of a team that shot 37% from 3 over a season to shoot 25% or less over 100 shots, it's less than 1%. He writes, I'm blue and orange to the bone, but we're watching somebody flop 12 sets in a night. It's a poker term. So I'm glad he's the second person that's kind of brought up poker to me in this regard. And here's my real indictment on the Celtics here. You adjust your strategy as a poker player based on, do I think I have a skill advantage? Okay? So I will try to explain something in poker terms that even if you're not a poker player, you'll understand. Okay? So let's say you're at the final table of a big tournament and you are thoroughly convinced you're the best player at the table. Okay? And there's one person there who has more chips than you. And therefore that person can knock you out. And you get in a spot where a bunch of people are, get their cards is raising. I'm going to try to do this in generic terms so if you're not a poker player, you can understand it. And you have an opportunity to get all your money in against the one guy who can knock you out, and he shows you his cards. Okay? And you have ace king, and he has 8-9. You are about a little more than a 60-40 favorite in that spot. Shows it to you. If you truly believe you have a significant skill edge on the table, there are a lot of players that in that spot would say, nah, not going to, even though in the long run, this is obviously wildly profitable for me. If I'm a 60-40 favorite, and again, that wouldn't be the math of those two exact hands, but just stick with me. That means 40% of the time I lose. That means 2 out of 5 times I lose here. And I don't want to roll those dice when I think I can just grind you guys down. The Celtics saying, by the virtue of how they're playing, well, in the long run, this is smart, to me, underestimates what should be their decided advantages in this series. And by the way, that's not just hypothetical. Their decided advantages in this series during the games where they have built 20-point leads. And so it has the potential to be an all-time loss that also, and this is the part, Damonza, and even though you're a Celtics fan, maybe you could take some solace in. It also has the potential to maybe stem the tide a bit against professional basketball simply being a three-point shooting contest. And I think that we if you guys go back, and we should, God dog it might be worth putting this clip back out there again. After the first night of the NBA season, I did like a 20-minute thought exercise on this show about how the NBA has two major problems on its hands. One was the load management stuff, but the other one was that watching three-point contests is not as good of an entertainment product as the NBA we grew up with. And that even though the league is deeper than ever, more skilled than ever, in theory should be better than ever, that you potentially might need to be proactive like baseball was against the shift and with the pitch clock and all those things because your consumers won't love it. The Boston Celtics breaking every record for three-point attempts, if they ended up cruising to a championship, then until the rules change, everyone's an idiot for not playing that way. But if in the small sample size of a series, the Celtics get whacked by what most people feel is a clearly inferior team, and a team, by the way, who was 0-8 this year against the Cavs and the Celtics, and like 1-18 against the best teams in basketball, that whether it should or shouldn't change teams' philosophies and approaches, pro sports are reactionary, and I think it will. So yeah, I'll say it. For the health of basketball, it's good if this doesn't work for Boston. And now, 30 minutes in, I want to talk about the Knicks side of things. So everyone's going to say some of the same stuff here. Bridges' defensive stops at the end of these games has been unbelievable. And the fact that the Knicks, Tatum wasn't, did you realize, Damonza, that was correctly graded by the scorekeepers at the end, a steal and not a block? Because Tatum abandoned the shot and was trying to pass it to Jaylen Brown?
It was a steal. It was a steal and not a block. Yeah, I could see how that kind of looked like a steal because if he was trying to pass it, Mikal Bridges took it.
No, that's my point. In real time, I thought it was a shot that got blocked that Bridges grabbed and then threw up in the air.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he tried to like turn and kick it out.
Right. He abandoned the shot. That's the point. It was, I mean, a brilliant defensive possession. So people are going to talk about that. Brunson, obviously, I mean, just more than earning his Clutch Player of the Year award night after night after night. Karl Anthony Towns' stretch in the second quarter when he was the only Knick doing anything, when this thing could have gotten totally away from him, might get forgotten a bit to history. And one other thing that I will focus on even if no one else will, Joe Mazzulla going to the hack of Mitchell Robinson strategy when the team had 2 team fouls and putting the Knicks in the bonus without ever getting Mitch Robinson to the free throw line, I thought was one of the bigger coaching mistakes of his career up to this point. Just strategically, it didn't make sense. It was as if the Knicks were going to be caught sleeping and pull Mitchell Robinson out before you got into the bonus, which they almost did, but they didn't. Or he thought they would just leave him in once you were in the bonus. I don't know what he thought, but that was a mistake. But the story for the New York Knicks, and this was, if I can give myself a little credit, something I talked about on the pod and TV show Tuesday and will again today, is a story of different objectives. Yes, of course, the Knicks want to win a championship. But they did not build a team with that being the singular goal. They built a team to beat Boston, with the logic being the only chance we have of winning a championship is if we can beat Boston. We can't rely on being on opposite sides of the bracket and someone else beating them or injuries or whatever. We are going to have to go through Boston. So we trade for OG Anunoby. We trade for Mikal Bridges. Now we have long, switchable, defensive-minded wings for Brown and Tatum. We move off Julius Randle and maybe just as importantly, Dante DiVincenzo to bring in Karl Anthony Towns so we can match some of their offensive firepower. And so if they want to play with a 7-footer who can shoot in Kristaps, we got a 7-footer who can shoot even better in Karl Anthony Towns. They built a team.
Basically out right now.
Well, perfect. Yes, and we'll get to that. They built a team to beat Boston, just like Minnesota hired away the guy who built the Nuggets, who to then build a team to beat the Nuggets. And then when the Nuggets were defending champs in round 2 and everyone thought they were cruising to the finals, they ran into a team no one really believed in. And that team, who was built to beat them, not necessarily to win a title, as they got clocked in the next round, built to beat Denver, went to Denver and took game 1 and then shocked everyone and took game 2 as well. Now, they ended up losing the next 3, but they won the series anyway. The folks who run the Knicks looked at their biggest hurdle to making the first finals, making the first conference finals, and the first NBA finals the franchise has made this century, and said it's Boston. Said, all right, we'll build our version. And we're going to have this added bonus. We're not going to be quite as talented man for man. And our coach isn't going to be... One coach is the ultimate new school coach, and the other coach is the ultimate old school coach. Our coach isn't going to have the analytical bent and edge Boston's does. But here's what we are going to have. An absolutely fearless end-of-game guy. And you guys don't have it. And now, I was talking about how the Knicks just needed to get one more after winning game 1 in the next 3 to guarantee themselves they're getting a game 6 at home. Now, Boston's got to get 2 of the next 3 in order to make sure this series isn't over before game 6. And that is a shocking turn of events. And by the way, nobody knows what to do with this series, where like the Knicks are the favorite in the series, but the Celtics are still the favorite in the conference. Like, this is a weird spot because nobody thought we'd be in this spot. All right, you wanted to talk about Porzingis, so go ahead.
Yeah, so he's been MIA with some type of sickness that's messing with his stamina. How does that affect our chances, do you think, with him being in and out of the lineup?
So the Porzingis thing is bizarre,
Yeah,
and you feel terribly for the guy. I mean, this is why he missed time weeks ago, and so I don't know what it is it's not, it's not the flu. It's not, and clearly they can't figure it out, but this is a huge loss for them. A huge loss. And it also, everything matters. And even if they are able to get through this series, which right now, my pick would be the Knicks. I don't think it's over, but right now, I think my pick would be the Knicks. These extra miles on Horford are tough for one of the oldest players in the league who's now pushed into the starting lineup and all of that. So that, that's another issue. Before we move on, Damonza, where's your confidence level and what adjustments do you want Boston to make?
I think we'll win the series. And I'd like to just take what the defense has given us. And just kind of take note of what's happened in the last two games and just want it more. And when you have the 20-point lead, do your best to keep that 20-point lead. I don't know. It's weird. Play with some competitive energy. It just seems like the Knicks are just flying around and the Celtics are just relying on their pedigree.
And it also, yes, the Celtics feel right now a little laissez-faire about it, which is so weird. All right, the producers, before we move on, really want me to get to some Photoshop they did.
So
just go ahead.
You got any New Yorkers coming up to you out there on the street?
Oh, I'm telling you, they love the me and the bodega with a do serve Chris Broussard sign, a do not serve James Dolan sign. Who is that crying in the Do You Believe Us Now? I don't know. Oh, it's Joe Rogan? Who is it?
Oh,
okay. It's Robert De Niro. Sorry. It's very small on my screen. Justin Fields in place of Aaron Rodgers. The producer's very proud of the me at the bodega with the hot Cheetos Photoshop. That's the extra bonus you get for watching us on YouTube. By the way, speaking of YouTube, like, rate, subscribe, review. It really helps us out, and we really do appreciate it. The NBA 82-game grind is done. Now the real fun can begin. The playoffs are here. Time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that does not stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30, 40, more? Your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Lock in your bets, and let's make this playoff run unforgettable. Something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Wright. That's code Wright, WRIGHT, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, Damonza, let's get to this other stuff. I said that I could have done the whole pod just on Knicks, Celtics, but there are other stories we must get to, so go ahead.
So you decided to jump on the Denver bandwagon, and they followed that with a 45 or 42-point loss. I can't remember which one it is. Maybe you should jump the ship so they can start winning again. Russ was their leading guy. OKC couldn't miss any shots. Do you think the first game was more telling, or do you think this last game was more of how it's going to be?
Well, listen, jumping on the Denver bandwagon is maybe a touch strong.
Jokic bandwagon, maybe.
Yes. I have said since the Lakers got eliminated that my pick to win the title is Oklahoma City. And that's not really a sexy pick. They are now in fact, let me look. This will be a fun thing to do real quick. What are the Thunder now minus money favorites. This is something
For the
that
championship?
yeah, so here's something folks get wrong a lot. They don't know that odds on favorite is different than just being the favorite. So odds on favorite means that you're minus money. That you're priced at a greater than 50% chance to win. So right now on DraftKings, nope, the Thunder are not yet minus money. But they are plus 130. Boston is plus 310. The Cavs are plus 850. The Timberwolves are 10-1. The Knicks 13-1. The Pacers 15-1. The Nuggets 17-1. And the Warriors 25-1.
Knocked at the Warriors having the least odds.
Well, that is to me.
You're saying Curry's they're going to be screwed without him. But I
Yes. That is the essentially the Warriors the
that's their analysis.
marketplace saying maybe Steph will come back. We don't want to write him off. But what I do find so fascinating about it is that it feels to me with 8 teams left, you could make a credible case for any of the 8 teams to win a championship. And that's really unlike anything I can quite remember. Okay, so there's that. Now, to answer the game about last night. About last night, I don't think either game is really indicative of the series, but I think game 1 is more indicative, not because the Nuggets are going to win it, but because game 1 was evidence of any game the Nuggets are going to have a real chance, Joker's going to have to be transcendent. That is the, in my opinion, the real story here. And the Thunder, who hadn't faced, they've won 2 playoff series together as a group. The only real adversity they faced in games that mattered was last year against Dallas, and Luka got the better of them. For the Thunder to come out and score an NBA record 87 first half points and just absolutely annihilate Denver, to me, was a reminder of how good this team is when it is firing on all cylinders.
How much do you think Denver let their foot off the gas, feeling comfortable they stole that game 1?
So, right. It's not so much they let their foot off the gas. It's that I think they went into the game peak motivation. And when the Thunder hit them with haymakers, then they're like, okay, tonight's not our night. and that's, by the way, that's fine. It's now Denver.
That's why you steal game 1.
Yeah, whenever you're the inferior team, what you want to do is just keep shortening the series. And so now it's not a best of 7. It's a best of 5 now. And Denver has home court. That's how they have to look at it is it's now a best of 5. It's first to 3. And we've got 3 of the 5 games in our building. And so now are they going to go back to Oklahoma City, Denver that is, up 3-1? No, I don't think that's realistic at all. What I do think is Denver's goal is to then make it a best of 3 and have, they won't have home court in that scenario. Make it a best of 3. Get it back at 2-2. And then hope that somehow it can become a best of 1. Game 7. And so Oklahoma City has the highest ceiling of any team in the league. I think they've demonstrated that. And they are now 73-15. It's pretty good. All right, let's go on to Warriors T-Wolves.
Warriors won game 1 on the road without Steph. I think he went out 8 minutes left in the second quarter. They still pulled that off. I think he suffered a hamstring strain. Yep. He's going to be out at least a week. Do you give the Dubs any chance to win without Steph?
No. And I thought that was a great win by them, and I thought Steve Kerr was brilliant. and playing 13 guys, adjusting on the fly, and Buddy Hield. Like these last two games with Buddy Hield, it reminds you of how great the Warriors were when they had prime Klay Thompson, because the last two games, Buddy Hield has been prime Klay Thompson. It's been really
Which is
impressive.
why you give them no chance to win this series if Steph is out. Call it. I mean, this is 7 more days. Is the series over by then?
No,
The
he
Warriors
would.
could lose like one game.
The earliest he could be back, realistically, is Game 6, because they play tonight, Saturday. So that's game. So let me do it like this. They already played Game 1. Tonight is Game 2. Saturday is Game 3. Monday is Game 4. Wednesday is Game 5. Then they don't play. Did I do that wrong? They play Thursday, Saturday. Yeah, I did do that. No, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. And then the next game is Sunday. I think
If the Knicks can go out there and do that to the Celtics and win the second game, I think the Warriors can go back and beat them without Steph Curry. But it's just.
I just don't listen. I think Jimmy's been good, but not unbelievable.
I think Buddy Hield's gonna keep hitting.
I think Buddy Hield is, going to regress more to the mean there. And I also think, and this was, do you guys remember when the Lakers went down 3-1 to Minnesota? And I came on here and said, I don't think necessarily the series is over. It obviously was. But the Lakers' title hopes are done. And the reason I said was because now the only way to get out of round 1 is they have to play every other day, win a game 7, and then start a series where they're playing every other day for the entirety of it, basically. And they're are too old and too thin of a team in order for that to be an effective path, essentially. That is now where the Warriors are, and you saw it immediately bite Steph. A player who has never had a hamstring injury in his life ended up having to play every other day against that Rockets defense, running around like that. Wendy said that since they've started tracking this, Game 7 against Houston was the most mileage Steph has run on the court in a game in his career. And a quarter and a half into the next game, he suffers his first ever hamstring injury. That every game matters. And the Warriors kind of punted Game 5 against Houston and then let go of the rope in the fourth quarter of Game 6, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a Game 7, and then all of a sudden you find yourself 2 days later playing in a Game 1, and even though you win it, that's the ultimate win the battle, lose the war. And so, no, I think the Timberwolves, we were talking about 3-point regression with the Celtics. Timberwolves are now 12 of 70 over their last 2 games or something insane. And so I think that when we get to Game 5, it's going to be 3-1. I think Minnesota's going to win the next 3 is the short version of it. And I think it's going to be 3-1 going back to Minnesota. And here's the other piece. They ruled Steph out a week immediately. So Game 6 is the earliest he could come back. That's probably not realistic, but even if he is back for Game 6, are you going to get a fully healthy, fully functional Steph? I don't know. So yeah, I think the Warriors are done. I think Kerr's done a great job. I think Jimmy's been good, and Draymond the last 2 games, to go along with what had been great defense, he actually provided some offensive punch. I don't think any of that's sustainable. What are your follow-ups here?
A couple Ant follow-ups. So Chris Finch, head coach, came out and said, Ant, We had 1 point in the first half. You're the leader of the team, and you've got to come out and set the tone. If your shot's not going, you still have to carry the energy. Um, yeah, how do you feel about that? Or
Yeah,
just
so Chris Finch is not afraid to kind of call out his star player. And Ant clearly disagreed with him. Ant said, I thought my shot wasn't falling. I was still there on defense. I think Chris Finch has done a really good job. I also think that it wouldn't make sense for Ant to be tired. They only played 5 against the Lakers. It's only round 2. He's 23 years old. We did see last year, he said he got exhausted by the conference finals. I am not yet ready to say I think that is happening. I am ready to say it is something to monitor. But I think Ant's going to come out and be outstanding tonight. And, he finally hit some shots and he'll be fine. So I'm not panicked about that. And I also am not as angry at Ant for the laughing about the 3-point shooting. Brew was pissed. Brew was like, he's got to be more serious. I just think Ant is so overly confident so incredibly confident, I should say, that sometimes he feels like, everything's going to be fine. And that can be a gift and a curse. I think he'll be fine. All right, let's quickly get to the other series.
the Pacers have stolen 2 now at home in the Cavs building. That overrated poll came out at the perfect time for Haliburton.
Yeah.
The Cavs have some injuries going on. Garland's been out for the last 2. Mobley and Hunter missed game 2.
Yeah.
Mitchell showing out though. He had 48 points. How do you feel about what's the Cavs situation? The
I think they might be cooked. I don't think a sweep, but I don't know how you can recover from that type of loss. Donovan Mitchell scores 48. Donovan Mitchell now, by the way, complete list of NBA players who have multiple 48-plus point playoff games that they lost. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Donovan Mitchell. That's the list. Donovan has scored 48, 50, and 57 in playoff losses. But to melt the way they did, where you're up 7, here's another crazy one for you, Damonza. Since they've been tracking this, since 97 in the playoffs, as of a week ago, teams down 7 in the final minute were 1 and 1,160 or something. The only team that had ever come back from 7 down in the playoffs in the final minute was Oklahoma City in 2014 against Lob City when Chris Paul tried to draw a foul in the backcourt and launched a 60-footer because he was trying to get a shooting foul on it and they didn't call the foul and it kind of snowballed on him. The Pacers have done it twice in a week. It had been done once ever. The Pacers have done it twice in a week. To the Bucks to eliminate them in the Tyrese/John Haliburton game. And then this past game, and the Cavs couldn't get the ball past half court. Those plus the injuries, that kind of trauma, sports trauma, plus the injuries might just kill them. That might just be all she wrote. And so I also think that if Pacers fans are saying, guys, we made the conference finals last year and we took Boston to overtime and then Tyrese Haliburton got injured and missed the rest of the series. Nobody takes us seriously. I understand the frustration if they feel that way. But I just think the injuries now are too much. And I will take it one step further. And again, Pacers fans are going to be pissed. I think the winner of Boston, New York is going to go to the NBA Finals. Which means, I guess, by proxy, since I just said I think the Knicks are going to win the series,
yeah, you're picking
I
the
think the Knicks are going to be playing in the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Okay.
It's so you think I'm wrong.
He's just jumping ship to ship. They're all sinking. But yeah, the New York Knicks ship is gonna sink as well.
What do you
I
mean
know it's a.
jumping ship to ship?
I mean, your
I
Lakers, and then
okay. Well, I
I guess
said
he
make the
didn't say anything about
finals.
Denver's making the finals yet. So
Yes.
it was Lakers,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now
yeah.
your Knicks. All right.
No, no,
That's
no, no,
fine.
no. Hold on. To win the championship, I was Lakers,
Yes.
and now I'm
Okay. Yes.
Thunder.
Yeah. Knicks to go. All right. My bad.
Knicks to they got to play someone in the finals. I was Boston, but your team doesn't know how
Fickle.
to shoot a layup, or they're
Fickle.
allergic to it. All right, let's quickly do an NFL thing before we get to listener questions.
Cowboys made a move on George Pickens, wide receiver from Pittsburgh. So Pickens is on a contract year, and we know he's had some character things in the past, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Where do you think the chances are of this going wrong in Dallas?
Well, listen, I don't think it's necessarily going to go wrong as much as I just don't think it's going to be a wildly impactful. I think Pickens is a fine player. I think he's a little overrated because his highlights are so great. And I think you'd be insane to pay him early. And so I would think he's going to be pissed that he's not going to get paid early. And if you don't pay him early, you traded a third-round pick for a rental, which also, given where Dallas is, that seems odd. Like, it's just not a move I would make. Like, I think there are certain guys that are just not really winning or the juice is not worth the squeeze. I think he's one of them. And I think that he obviously has this massive talent, but he fell in the draft because he's such a pain in the ass. Pittsburgh was shopping him a year into his career because he's a pain in the ass, and he was only worth a third-round pick because he's a pain in the ass. And so you add to all that people will be like, oh, now he's not going to be getting doubled like he was in Pittsburgh. Man, some wide receivers like being the number 2 option because they see softer coverages. Some wide receivers are like, I just want 10 targets a game. And so all of that concerns me in a significant way. All right, a reminder to you guys, like, rate, subscribe, review on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. To get to some of the Tuesday questions before we get to today's, My B. Crow is listening from Croatia. That's very kind of you, man. And by the way, that's on my list. My pal Zach Lowe goes there every summer, I think, because his wife is from there. I've heard nothing but amazing things, and I really want to check it out. All right, go to Curtis's question, Damonza, from Tuesday.
If you had to start one, bench one, and cut one of these 3 players, what would be your order? Joker, Luka, and Giannis.
Well, that's a kind of unfair. Listen, you guys know how much I love Luka and how great I think he is. But of you picked the 2 guys in the league better than him. So the answer has to be you start Joker, you bench Giannis, and you cut Luka. But if you did a start bench cut with literally any other group of players and Luka would be my starter. But if you're the third best and if 3 best players in the league, and he's third, so yeah, that's what the answer is.
Brunson?
Say it again.
Brunson?
Oh no, Brunson's not on that level yet. Go ahead.
But Danny says, it feels like the search for the face of the league has become irrelevant. Do you think we should stop trying to force the issue and just enjoy the game?
Well, I don't think I don't mind the conversation. I don't think there's any real forcing of the issue, and it doesn't prevent me from enjoying the game. So that's not a problem. All right, next one.
-4-2. Nick, if the Nuggets make it to the conference finals, will Nikola Jokic secure the head coaching job in Denver?
Listen, he is doing a nice little player coach job, which I've enjoyed watching. Let's get to today's.
All right, so Euro Thunder here says about Boston, chucking threes is the lazy way of playing the game. Hopefully, this will send ripples through the league and reset this ugly trend.
Listen, I don't enjoy watching it as much as I enjoy different kind of diverse styles of play. So that is my hope to a degree that this at least stems the tide a bit. Let's go to Ryan.
Can you remember a more surprising conference finals than the potential Knicks versus Pacers series?
It's very, very rare that both teams are a surprise. It was a surprise last year that the Pacers made it. You know, a few years ago, it was to me a real big surprise when the Blazers made it. I think some would argue last year's Western Conference Finals, Dallas, Minnesota, was shocking, but I had picked Dallas from the beginning, so that didn't shock me, but I think it probably did shock the world to a degree. All right, let's go to Adrian.
Adrian, are we gonna talk about how Jokic really has been very turnover prone and lacking his usual efficiency for the last 4 to 5 games now?
Okay, so listen, I think that is a slight overstatement. So if you just go to Joker's game log, he had the one game. What game was it? It was game
Like 10?
He had 7
No.
in one of either game 2 or 3 against the Clippers, and I said, listen, yeah, it was game 2 against the Clippers. He had 7 turnovers, only it was 8 of 16 from the field. So what I think he's talking about is this. Game 5 against the Clippers, he was 4 of 13, but they won in a blowout. Game 7 against the Clippers, he was 6 of 14, but with 5 turnovers that they won in a blowout. It is true that that Zubats has given Joker trouble. Now, these 2 games in this series, he has 7 and 6 turnovers. Yesterday, Andy had 6 fouls, and he never got into the game, and the refs seemed to be bothering him. Yesterday, obviously, Joker didn't play well. No one on the team played well. I didn't focus on the 7 turnovers in game 1 because he did that along with 42, 22, and 6 in beating the 1 seed. So listen, 5+ turnovers, obviously too many, but I think his efficiency will be higher this series than it was last series when he was exactly at 50% from the field, still 45% from 3, because I don't think Hartenstein or Chet can give him the same problem Zubats can. All right, I got to run. Great job, Damonza. Great job, Blue Duck. Great job, Volume. I'll see you guys on the TV show at 3, and then I'm actually also doing Collins Pod later tonight, so busy day for me. See you guys there. What's right?